Hi there, my name's Andy Young and I'm one of the automotive lecturers down at Unitec in Auckland, New Zealand, and welcome to my Andy Mechanic YouTube channel. Now, on this particular video, I'm working again on the MR2. I think the last video that I posted was the one where I did the work on the front strut. Well, finally, I shouldn't say finally, because Toyota have been really good actually. These seals for a 1992 MR2 were on the shelf here in Auckland. They weren't in Japan, they didn't have to source them, they were in the dealership. That's pretty good going, Toyota. You've maybe made up for some of the problems that I had with the RAV4 a few weeks ago. So I'm going to be replacing those seals on the rear transaxle. Now this is a rear wheel drive vehicle, as most of you probably know. The engine is in the back, which is very much a good thing, I think. It has a rear transaxle, rear wheel drive, and on the driver's side, the oil seal where the drive shaft comes out of the gearbox isn't just leaking, it's really not doing anything anymore. It's not sealing in any way whatsoever. This vehicle is hemorrhaging gearbox oil to the point where it really can't be driven. It would be pretty bad if we carried on using it. So, to do this job, I'm going to have to pull off the driver's side rear wheel, remove pretty much all the suspension out of there other than the strut, and pull the drive shaft from the gearbox. And hopefully, and I say hopefully because the Toyota manual that I've downloaded, which is the genuine manual, doesn't really specify this as a particular job, and I'm very much hoping that the seal can be replaced from the outside of the gearbox and not have to take the gearbox out of the vehicle and do a complete strip down. That would be very, very bad, especially on an MR2 where you've got to take the engine and gearbox, just like the RAV4, out of the vehicle from underneath. Bit of a problem really. And I haven't got time. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I can get this seal replaced with the gearbox in situ. Now, we have to ask ourselves why this seal has failed in the first place. Well, it's a 24-year-old car. Seals don't last forever. But, and this is a big but, last week it wasn't leaking any oil. And within 2 days it became a very, very serious oil leak. Now it may not be, or the primary fault may not be the seal rupturing or failing or wearing out. If the bearing that sits behind that seal that supports the drive shaft and the differential gears, the output gears, the side gears, call them what you like, has suddenly decided to collapse or gain lots of play, then the shaft will be moving from side to side, up and down, it'll be moving concentrically, and of course the seal won't be able to follow the shaft as it rotates, and we'll get a gap, a momentary gap appear between the seal and the shaft, and of course oil will leak out. So we're going to have to check the bearing as well for play, but I can't do that really until I've stripped down the suspension and stuff and got the drive shaft completely load free, so to speak, so I can just move the tripod joint around and feel for any kind of play in that bearing. So as always, these are not staged jobs. I don't know what's going to come up. Having to film inside the garage today, it's pretty windy outside, can't do it under the carport, and because of that, huge problem. If it turns out to be more than just the seal replacement, i.e. gearbox out, then I've got a big problem because I can't close the garage door with the car where it is. Always a mechanic's problem, isn't there? Never ends. Okay, so let's make a start. Driver's side rear wheel off, and I'm going to start to strip down the suspension. Here we go. Now, what I've done with this car is, because we're working on the driver's side of the gearbox, I've just jacked up the driver's side of the car to make sure whatever remaining oil's in the transaxle goes over to the left. So we're going to minimise oil leakage if we pull that drive shaft out. Saves draining the gearbox. Now, before we remove all the caliper and the brake system and stuff, let's get rid of this this split pin, because I need to undo this large bolt whilst I can still hold it stationary. Now, it might be a power bar. Maybe the rattle gun will do it. Let's give the rattle gun a go first. Good stuff. Right, now we can take the caliper off and get rid of the disc. It wasn't that long ago I pulled all this apart before. I had the alternator to change. And unfortunately, you might say, Andy, what on earth are you taking all the rear suspension apart for when you're changing just an alternator? Well, it so happens that on an MR2 of this vintage, you need to remove all the driver's side suspension pretty much, and the alternator has to come out through the bottom. Okay, Mr. Caliper, that's you out of the way. Maybe we should just hang up out of the way. There we go. Okay. Pad carrier. 17 by the looks of it. I'll just pull those pads out because we know they're going to form the floor anyway, don't we? Okay, little clips and all sorts of stuff. Now these bolts will be pretty tight and they should have thread lock on them when they're put back in again as well, which usually makes them tight all the way out. This car has got, it has to be the world's most annoying alarm. Makes you want to rip it out of the wiring harness and throw it as far as you can. So dry. Okay. Sheesh. Okay, well, what's next? Well, we've got the lower arm, which has got a ball joint at this end. I think we'll just take it off on the actual chassis subframe. We've got a rear arm and a forward arm down there, look. That's got to come off at the chassis. Okay, so our next job is to remove this under engine plastic tray. Now, pretty sure you're able to do that, so I won't bother filming taking all those silly little bolts out, but that needs to come out next, and then we can start disassembling some more of the rear suspension. Oh, don't turn on me. Yeah. That's why you wear eye protection. Okay, one down. of that handbrake cable. Bracket 12. There we go. So next is the lower arm where it connects to the rear subframe. Looks like a 17 again actually. Maybe that'll work. Nope, wrong again. 19. Sorry camera, it's the way it is. Okay, let's grab our socket. Cool. Okay, well, pretty much the last two bolts to undo now are the strut lower bolts. These are extremely tight. I think I read on the front strut 240 Newton meters. Holy moly. Now, is that going to fit? Yes. That's that one cracked off. Have a lower one. Cool. Now again, on some vehicles, the two bolts here are different. I'm pretty sure on the MR2s these are the same. So if they are different, just make a note of which one's the top bolt and which one's the bottom bolt, because it's pretty important. Yeah, I'm pretty sure these are the same. Okay. Now, there won't be a lot holding this thing in anymore. So hopefully, it's all going to fall apart on us. Right, here goes. Right, we're off the strut. Please. For the love of God. Okay, there we go. It's the drive shaft out. Oh, we don't have to get out, but I think we will do. It's always a pain, that one. There we go. Drive shaft. Okay. Okay, let's get that pulled out. You don't believe how I've got the camera mounted. There we go. Okay. So, Mr. Drive Shaft. I think it's the same as the RAV4. We can just give that a tap and it should just come out. So I'll give that a go. Don't want to damage that. That's like a dust seal protector plate there, look. And it's got a bit of movement over there. It should be alright, shouldn't it? Okay. Right, magic hammer. Now, unfortunately, the old camera's in the way, but. Woohoo! Oil! Damn. Cool. There we go. Right. Well, there's the seal, which definitely appears to be replaceable from the outside, which is both a relief and very sensible to it, I think. We'll have to drain the old transact. Well, anyway, there's still plenty of oil in it, which is good news. These things hold 4.2 litres of oil, by the way, just for a reference. And the drain bung is just down here, what I'm cleaning off now. Yeah. Can you chuck us the brake cleaner, Ben? Man, there's so much oil around.
You don't want to spray too much inside the gearbox, do you?
I don't want to spray any of it inside the gearbox. Being a master technician, I'll probably get lots in there.
Yeah, I did see some going there.
It'll be fine. You'll worry too much.
It'll just dilute it a bit, make it a bit more runny.
Yeah, it'll be a self-cleaning oil then, won't it?
Yeah.
Alright, can you pass me a big ass flat screwdriver? Well, doesn't feel too bad in there. Like one of those kind of seal removing flat screwdrivers. It needs to have a reasonable head on it though, not a great blunt lump on the end. You have the option of
this one?
Yeah, that should do the trick. Yeah. Well, the seal doesn't look too bad actually. Yeah. I have a hunch. I saw something outside that might contribute to what's been going on. Let's go and have a look before we take this seal out. So I was looking outside and I noticed some wheelings going onto the grass. Now, if you can imagine, the MR2 is being reversed down this drive and the driver's side rear wheel is what's creating that rut. And it's obviously got stuck on the grass and couldn't go forwards, so they decided to take the plunge and drive off the step. Now, it's not a huge step, and let's face it, the Safari wouldn't even look at it. Just be straight over. Hello, my mate, in the picture. Cheers. But if you look up here, they've gone off the steps. I don't even make it out or not, but there's like a muddy trail going all the way down here. So they've continued to go backwards all the way down here and basically made the same mistake twice. And now they've gone over the concrete there. Now that is, even though it's grass, it's quite a large step under there. And they've spent quite a while trying to get out because that's some of the tyre stuck on the concrete. Thanks, my mate. Yeah. Let me explain to you what that means. So, bit of an abstract bit of film there for you. Maybe you're wondering why I put it in the video. Well, as a mechanic, it's our job to try and find out what's gone wrong. why something's broken or not doing the thing it's supposed to do, or in this case, why is it leaking oil. Now, we've got the drive shaft. Okay, this is the output shaft from the gearbox, and the seal runs on this little flange just here. And we have this sort of dust shield thing a bit further back. And, well, even though I didn't mention it earlier on in the video, I noticed that the distance that that dust shield was from the gearbox was a little bit more than what I thought it was going to be, or what I would have expected it to be. It should be a little bit nearer to where the seal is. There was quite a large gap. But I didn't say anything because I wanted to carry on with the video. And now we've got to the point where we've taken the drive shaft out. Now, when I was taking the drive shaft out, it didn't take a lot to get it out. And I reckon, this is my verdict, I'm not entirely sure until I get the seal out, but that little circlip there, its job is to prevent the drive shaft from coming out of the gearbox under normal operation. So basically, under normal operation, it should stay in a particular position on the differential output gear. But if it was to move out slightly by a few millimeters, then where that seal, where the new seal sits on that step, its position will change. And in all honesty, it's only got to move, looking at this, it's only got to move about 3 millimeters before the seal won't be in contact with that surface, that shoulder, anymore. And I think, given the fact that those tyre marks on the driveway coincide to the same day that this vehicle started to drop its gearbox oil, as if somebody had blown a hole in the side of the gearbox with a shotgun, I have a sneaky suspicion that when that vehicle went off the step, and off the second step, and was involved in a reasonably large burnout at the time trying to get back up the second step, that drive shaft somehow has been knocked. There's been some lateral force on the rear wheel, and it's caused the drive shaft to come out of the gearbox by 2 or 3 millimeters. Now, that's a combination of factors. I mean, it certainly won't happen to a new vehicle, but things are a bit worn, you know. That little circlip on the end of the drive shaft's nowhere near as strong as it ever used to be when it was brand new. And the drive shaft's moved out just a couple of mil. And what that's done is it's allowed the seal to break contact with that shoulder and, of course, drop loads of oil. But, hey, I'm going to pull the seal out because I've got a new one. It has to go in regardless. And we'll do a further inspection on the seal. I could be wrong, but I'm just using all the information to hand to try and diagnose why this gearbox is losing oil. So let's get the seal pulled out, have a little look at it under closer inspection. Now, do bear in mind that when you remove old oil seals like this one, the process of removal often distorts them and damages them. That's why I did a close-up shot earlier on before I actually pulled it out. It doesn't feel too bad. It doesn't look too bad from what I can see on the camera. But once it's in my hand, I'll have a better idea. So here we go. Well, that was rather easy, wasn't it? Okay, let's have a look on the bench, see what we can see. Okay, well, first of all, you can see where I damaged the seal getting it out. You always get this little lump where the screwdriver goes in, and yeah, that's just the way it goes. But that put to one side, at the back of the seal, which is the innermost sealing surface, you can see that that's quite worn down. Now there's 3 seals here. We've got the inner, my fingers are 2, and then the outer just there, look, okay, and then you've got this large dust seal lip. Now, you know, I was talking to you earlier on about that dust seal lip and what it does. Well, its job is to run against the inside edge of that dust cover there, look. Now, if you look back at the video, you'll see but it wasn't. It was positioned about there. There was a reasonable gap between this and the seal, which tells me that the tripod joint, this piece here, was too far out of the gearbox, and therefore the seal had failed. Now, also, when you look at that, you can see the inner seal there, look, which is just behind that spring, its normal position is about there on the shaft. But if the shaft moves out maybe about 3 millimeters, then the inner sealing surface is going to then come away from that shaft. It's got a pretty big taper on there actually, which is obviously to aid installation so it doesn't damage the seal. If the seal sits there, you can see it loses pressure straight away as it goes on to the smaller diameter, and of course that's going to cause it to leak oil. And I think that's what's happened. So I'm going to install the new seal, and you can see the new seal, well, it has an awful lot more. The new seal has a much larger friction, I suppose, clamping effect around the shaft, because that little spring there is, you know, it's got a lot more tension and there's less rubber worn away. And if you look inside, you can see those little grooves. See those little lines on the back seal? Well, they're there to try and direct, because don't forget the shaft rotates, those little lines direct the oil back into the gearbox. And if you look on the new one, on the old seal, those lines are completely worn away, which tells us that rubber surface has worn down slightly. So, now, when you're installing the new seal, it's important on this outer edge here, this sort of big dust lip, that should have grease on it. And that dust lip should make contact with that sort of metal flange on the actual drive shaft. Now this one is a little bit bent. Somebody's been doing stuff with it in the past. Wasn't me, not this time round. But it is in the right place. It hasn't moved. They're usually spot welded to the shaft, or they're just hammered into place. But yeah, that's what I reckon's happened. I can't see anything seriously wrong with the seal. So when we're comparing the new seal to the old seal, yes, the old seal's a bit worn. We'd expect that. It's 24 years old. That's a long time for a seal, and I'm assuming that's the original gearbox. I don't think it's ever been out. But the inner surfaces, the inner diameter of that seal has increased. The rubber has worn away, it's increased, and therefore it has less pressure against the shaft. Yeah, that's granted, but I don't think that's the main reason why it's failed. Going on the evidence to hand, both on the car and outside on the driveway, very confident that the inner part of the drive shaft that fits into the diff and is located by that small circlip has, through coming over those steps, got knocked outwards. And hey, it may have been out a little bit for a long time, but it's just got knocked a bit further out. That little spring, that retaining spring, that circlip so to speak, has been insufficient to hold it in place. And that's caused that to move, you know, over the tripod joint bearings a little bit, which do have to allow for, you know, lateral expansion and contraction of that shaft due to suspension movement. And that's why it's been leaking oil. That's why all of a sudden it wasn't leaking any oil for years and years and years. And then after going over that step, it dropped lots of oil to the point where we couldn't use the car anymore. So I'm going to show you how to install the new seal, and then we'll put it all back together. Fingers crossed it won't leak any oil. Now when I come to reinstall the drive shaft, hopefully it's going to go a lot further back into the gearbox, and that steel flange that runs against the dust seal, the big lip on the rubber seal, should go a lot closer to the gearbox and actually do something, because where it was before, it was doing nothing, and that was a telltale sign that something wasn't quite right. Okay, back to the car. Here we go. Now, just before I put the seal back in, I'm just going to make sure there's no play on that bearing or on the carrier, and that all feels really good. Right, so with your seal, there's a bit of grease on there. I'm going to add some more grease once it's in place. And if you can, do try to fit the seal just by finger pressure. It's never easy doing this kind of stuff, there we are, look, without a hoist. If you had a hoist, so much easier. So you just got to work the seal in. And what you don't want to do is push the seal beyond the surface of the casting. It must sit flush with the casting. That's looking pretty good. No wonder my thumbs hurt when I get old. Right. There we go. Okay, the seal is now in situ. Very happy with that. And we're going to stick some more grease on the inner contact points of the seal. And then we'll put the drive shaft back in. There we go. Done. Drive shaft incoming. Okay. There we go. That's where it should sit. A lot closer to the gearbox. See that metal flange? It's pretty much hard against the gearbox casing now. Whereas before, it was a lot further back than that as well. It was really far back. So hopefully, should be okay now. Fingers crossed. No more driving down the curbs, I reckon. So that's the new seal installed. It's pretty easy. And wherever possible, I always try not to use any kind of hammer or metal object, whether it be a punch or whatever, to refit the new seals, because you can often cause damage to them. And the drive shaft position in relation to that seal, it's gone all the way in. It's where I would expect to see it, and it matches the drive shaft on the other side of the vehicle now. So maybe it was just hanging out a little bit. Maybe we could have stopped the oil leak by just pushing the drive shaft back in and walking away. But I didn't want to take that chance. And like I said, it's a 24-year-old vehicle. It's about time it had some new seals. It needs a bit of love. So all I have to do now is reassemble that suspension on the driver's side rear, top the gearbox back up, well, fill the gearbox up with some fresh oil, and then we're all good. Now the main reason why I drained the oil, there were two reasons. One was there was oil still dribbling out the diff where when the drive shaft was removed. It's hard to work when you've got oil everywhere. And secondly, I wanted to see how much oil was left in the gearbox. It should have had 4.2 litres in it. So whatever we've got left, deduct that from 4.2, and I know exactly how much oil that gearbox has leaked over the last couple of days, which tells me, you know, has any internal damage been caused? If it was down to say half a litre, chances are some of those bearings will have got really hot on the last couple of trips it was being used for. If there's more than half, maybe 2 litres, you know, of oil left in the gearbox, chances are everything's okay. It hasn't been overused, over-abused, it hasn't done that many Ks, low on oil, it's probably going to be okay. I need to know, I've got to tell the customer. Okay, so back to the vehicle and let's get it all put back together. Oh, you might hear a little bit of swearing on the next bit because this back end is a pain in the ass to put back together again. Now, since I've done this a few times, I've come to learn which has been the hardest bolts to get in. And this one at the front here for the trailing arm, that's a pain in the ass. And the worst one is the lower arm that goes to the bottom of the subframe, because that's a captive nut and you've got to get the threads lined up perfectly, otherwise it doesn't want to play ball. So forgive me if I start to swear at you. It won't be you that I'm swearing at, it'll be the car. Okay, so first job, drive shaft in, and the big nut, retaining nut, just on sort of finger tight all the way, if you can. And that will just keep all that together. Ooh, threads aren't the greatest. It's old, what do you expect? Okay, now next job. Just to get, oh, that's not too bad. Right, I'm just going to chuck one of the strut bolts in just to hold everything up out of the way for us. There we go, that's just temporary. And now we can try and get that, that captive bolt in for the lower arm onto the rear subframe. It's a bit of a pain. Just going to pull that bolt out a bit so we can get a bit more movement on this. There we go. Because this is the hardest one. I want to make it as easy as I possibly can. It's going to have to come out. Problem is, we're assembling this, the suspension on full droop, and the bushes are designed not to sit at rest at full droop. They're designed to sit at rest when the car is, well, at rest. Nah, not yet. Okay, see if we can get it in like that. There we go. If you mess these threads up in here, you're going to have a major problem. That's why you've got to give this particular mount absolute priority when it comes to reassembly. Yeah, any of the others, you can just replace the bolt. Yeah. Okay, that's started. Let's get the front one back in now. Easier said than done. Ta-da! Right. Let's get the rear one on. Now this one, hopefully, should be reasonably easy. Especially given all the hassles that the last two gave us. Ha! Look at that. Professional. Okay, and then all that's left now is to put the two strut bolts in and then tighten them all up. Now when I pulled all these bolts out earlier on, they were all really dry, so just putting a bit of grease on all of this stuff. Because, you know, you never know, I might have to take it apart again one day. It certainly helps if things are a bit more lubricated than what they were. Excellent. Right, time for a rattle gun, I reckon. Oh, anti-roll bar. Okay, swap sides. Right, brake disc on. There we go. And pad carrier. Now we need some thread lock to go on these two retaining bolts. I'll grab that. Yeah, they were a bit on the rusty side, weren't they? Look, not good. Shouldn't really be like that. Right. That's one. What have we got left? Well, we've got a clip that fell out. And this clip goes on there like that. And that's for the brake pads. And it fell out for whatever reason. Okay. There we go, that's better. Cool. Off my glove, right. Okay. Patience is a virtue, Mr. Young. That's one. These little plates do a number of things. One of the most important is they help to prevent, oh, it's going to stay in place, isn't it? Let's get rid of that one. They help prevent heat transfer from the brake pad into the caliper itself. So inner pad. The right way around would be good. It's very dark in there. There we go. Right, one caliper. So we're just going to stick some copper paste on that slider first. It looks a bit dry. Okay, so just before I put the caliper back on, I just want to put a bit of copper paste on that slider there, look, because it was pretty dry. I don't think I've ever actually serviced these rear brakes, so that's probably why. There we go. Right, caliper on. More mud. Okay. Damn you! Oh, that was another swear word, wasn't it? Come on, mister. You can do it. You came off, so you can go back on again. Right. Just that to put back in again. There we go. Hookly dookly. Man, we're almost there. Right, 12mm spanner. Okay, just the big nut to do up now. Okay, well, that's not going to hold it, is it? The handbrake's already on. I need that a lot tighter than what it is. Okay, we can give that a final tweak once the wheel's back on, so I can get the socket through the centre of the wheel and then put the split pin through, hopefully. Cool. Okay, so, well, wheel on. Great stuff. I'm just going to put the wheel on with a couple of the nuts for now, so I can tighten that up with the power bar with the wheel on the ground. And then I've got to take the wheel back off again to put the split pin through. It's just the way it is, unfortunately. Okay. Now, obviously it's important that we make sure that the split pin's lined up, the hole through the drive shaft, and that's actually bang on. So we'll leave that where it is. Right, wheel back in the air again. Come back, all is forgiven. Right, time for the split pin. See if we can get that through there, look. Almost. There we go. That was lucky. Okay, I've just got to bend the ends around a bit. 1, 2. There we go. Okay, wheel back on. Now, this machine has locking wheel nuts, which are a real pain in the ass. There we go. Don't really like using those on the locking nut keys. Just depends how lazy I'm feeling. Geez, it's carnage in the workshop today. Okay, so all the mechanical components are back in place. I've put the sump bung back on the gearbox, and I've even put, whilst the camera was charging up, I've put the plastic sort of underbody protection stuff back in place as well. Caliper was a pain to get back on again. Strange. What's left? Well, you know what's left. I know what's left. Got to clean the lens first. Look at the state of that. Hi. Right. What's left? Well, we need to top the gearbox. In fact, I need to refill the gearbox with oil, with 4.2 litres of oil. It's going to get EP8090. That's all I've got. Toyota don't specify that. They specify some kind of Toyota coding. But hey, it's a transaxle, and there's no limited slip diff in there. Well, there isn't anymore anyway, because the plates would be all worn out if there was. It's 24 years old. So it's going to get EP8090. So here we go. Just to get your orientation, there's the engine over here. That's the sump. Slightly a bit close up. This is the bell housing for the manual gearbox. And then just if you follow the bell housing round, you'll see, where's my finger? There we are, look. You'll see this is the filler. Okay, and it's about on the level with the lowest of the bell housing to engine. Where's it gone? Engine bolts, which is that one just there. Look, so you follow that across, you'll see the filler bung. Now the drain bung, that there is the drain bung, and that's basically underneath the left-hand drive shaft. So there you go. I'm going to crack that off, and I'm going to put 4.2 litres of oil in there and put it back on again. You don't need to see that. I'm pretty sure you know how to put 4.2 litres of oil through a hole in the side of a gearbox. So give me about 15 minutes to do that, and I'll come back to you on the bench and we'll do a quick recap. Okay, I'll see you later. So there you go, I'm back. And yes, 4.2 litres of oil went in that gearbox. Now, I didn't use my plunger like I did on the old Safari for the diff oils. I actually found a bit of hose pipe and ran it up above the engine, through the engine bay, and put a funnel on there. I just basically used gravity to keep topping it up until I got the 4.2 litres in there. It's not easy climbing in and out, you know, from underneath the car every time with, you know, one squirt of EP90 into the gearbox. It's all about thinking about ways of making your life as easy as possible as a mechanic, because sometimes, you know, okay, on a hoist that would be a dead easy job topping the gearbox up with oil. Without a hoist, it's a real pain. I mean, you know, that's how much of a pain it is. In and out underneath the car constantly, and the more you can limit that, the better. Good for you. Was it an easy job? Yeah, it wasn't too bad. It took me, I don't know, about 3 hours all up. But that was with the filming. Without filming, probably about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Wasn't too bad. Was it what I expected? No, not really. I went in there thinking it was a simple seal change. Turns out that I don't think the seal was the main issue. That drive shaft had moved out slightly, causing the seal to lose contact with the mating surface on the drive shaft, and hence it was hemorrhaging oil. Would have just pushing the drive shaft back in cured it? Probably would. But we didn't know that until we got into the job. We'd already bought the seals, done both sides. You've only seen one on the camera. Yeah, it wasn't too bad. So obviously, for me to do both sides, it's taken twice as long, really. But that's the way it goes. Had to be done. Now, I hope you found the video helpful. If you have any questions or comments, then please do leave them down the bottom, and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, join the masses, more the merrier. Press the subscribe button, but also if you want to, click on the little gear symbol next to it and turn on notifications, and that way you'll get an email sent through whenever I upload a new video. And there's usually 3 to 5, sometimes 10 videos a week. It just depends how busy I am, but there's always at least 1 or 2 videos every single week covering various repairs for cars, motorcycles and ATVs as well, plus a bit of welding here and there, a bit of fabrication work. So there you go. My name's Andy Young, and thanks for watching another video on the Andy Mechanic YouTube channel. Cheers guys, thank you, over and out.